All right. Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. My name is Shashank Kalanithy. I'm a senior data analyst, and I do this live stream, senior data analyst. I do this live stream every Thursday morning, Pacific time, 8 o'clock a.m., in order to answer any questions that you might have about the world of analytics. So let's go ahead and get started. What questions do you guys have? Let me see if I can just pull up the chat on the side. Let me just go ahead and pull up the chat real fast. Hey, Weeb Course, welcome, welcome. All right, Arjun Singh, let's see what you got over here. I've learned Python, SQL, Jupyter, Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, but I lack a project on which I can apply these tools. Can anyone suggest me a project for a beginner? So if you're looking for just like some practice, Kaggle has clean data sets that you can practice on, and it's a great way to go ahead and get started. But if you're looking for project ideas, I always recommend that people go ahead and think of those on their own. Usually you'll find a data set that you find interesting, and then once you find that data set, you can go ahead and just expand on it and start asking yourself questions about, why do certain things happen the way they do? Why am I seeing this phenomenon over and over again? Stuff like that. And the reason I suggest that is because look at anyone who is successful as a software developer, as a data analyst, as a data scientist. Very few of them will have mindlessly grinded their way to that position. Almost all of them have some interest in the field and usually use the field to, either because they just genuinely enjoy the puzzles or they're using it to solve some problem that they have. And that's why I think you need to find some internal motivation to determine what do I want to understand better and, to that extent, see what you can do to get there. Kiran Pradhan, hi, all the way from Perth, Australia. Nice. No questions as such. Just here to learn something new from you. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you. Saroj, welcome, welcome. Joshua K, just find something that is interesting to you and create a project that uses them. Joshua K is exactly right. That's what I tell everyone. And I really want to start emphasizing the aspect of enjoying analytics and enjoying the analytics process on this channel, because I think that you learn best when you have some enjoyment of what you're doing. It doesn't have to be like your lifelong passion or something, but it should be something that you enjoy at least a little bit. Kind of an example would be like, I think like just general good, or more like life advice. I think general good life advice is you don't necessarily have to follow your passion, but you should reasonably like your job. Within reason, you should enjoy what you do at your job. You should not be going to your job miserable every day or hating the work that you do. If you do, then it's time for a career change. Only because you will probably spend the plurality of your life that's not sleeping working, right? So Ryan Wang. Interesting. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Having no experience in data analytics aside from a certificate and hard skills, what can I do for to land an entry-level position better? Networking is usually your best bet. See if you know anyone from your college or anywhere else who is able to help you get into the field. That would be my primary recommendation. Nav34D, bro, remember the other day when I said I interviewed? Nice. That's awesome. That's the best news I can hear on this channel, because that's what this channel is all about. It's all about getting you guys jobs. So a bit of a note also, for today's live stream, we're going to be cutting it short to 30 minutes because I have a meeting in, about 24 minutes now. So we have about 24 minutes of questions. Quarantine. Oh yeah, Quarantine. Great to see you again. Krakow. Cool. Oh, I've always loved the name Krakow. Jay Shin. Hi, Shank. I'm self-learning SQL, but how did you put that on your resume when applying for data analyst jobs? Thank you for the tutorials. So if you don't have practical work experience with it, then here's the thing about SQL, right? SQL is not a programming language, and because of that, you can't really do stuff with it in the sense that you can't make a project out of it. I mean, you can, but it's it's okay if someone doesn't see that as a project on your resume. I would just add it as a skill. Python, on the other hand, is something that you could, I mean, it's a programming language, right? You can do anything with it, really. Yeah, so I would recommend with Python, you need to go find a project. SQL, not so much. It's a skill. It's not really something that you like would do a project on because it's just used to manipulate data and only data that's in a database, quite honestly. Animesh Jain, Animesh. Hi, I want to know that how data analytics will change in the blockchain, or let me just. I don't think the blockchain will have any effect on data analytics at all. I think that analytics can be used on the blockchain. So, like, the blockchain would be like, it'll be like retail, right? Like, I work at Nordstrom, right? A North American fashion retailer. We sell clothes, basically. We have no effect. Like, retail has no effect on analytics, but analytics can be used to better our business. Blockchain is a technology, sure. I firmly believe that blockchain is a technology that will have limited impact on our world going to the future, honestly. I think it has limited use cases, quite honestly. Because it's been about, what? Blockchain's been a common thing for maybe 10 to 15 years at this point, and no one has suggested even one truly practical use case of it. So long story short, I don't think it'll have much of an effect on the analytics space, although I think people will use analytics to analyze transactions on the blockchain quite a bit. So, maybe we move to a world where, or here's a great example of it. Let's say you have a criminal network, right, that's using the blockchain to, launder their money, right, because you can transfer money into the Bitcoin, put it through, I forgot what those things are called, but there's this thing called Tornado, where basically you put a bunch of your money in, and then you get it out in these small chunks, and you basically instantly laundered your money. I could see analytics and data science being used to track down people like that. That could be a really cool use case of it. So, I think that's a good use case of analytics on the blockchain. All right, what do we have next? Adlo, from Detroit, wondering how many projects I should have in my portfolio. One or two very good ones. The thing is, the project is what gives you something to talk about in your interview, but no one cares about, no one cares that you did 10 projects. If you're going to talk about it in an interview, you need to be able to go in depth, and you can only really go in depth with one project. So I would have two. That way you can figure out which one the interviewer might be more interested in, and that's it. That's all you need on your resume. And I would only deeply work on two. Suraj Das, hey, do you think getting a good rank on Kaggle like Master or Grandmaster can help me get a job in the future field days? Yeah, people have done that. Yeah, it definitely can. Raheel, is it compulsory to learn Python to enter the field as a data analyst? Not at all. I highly recommend that people do, but it's not at all compulsory. I've met a lot of data analysts who don't know Python. The reason I recommend Python, right, is that because if you don't learn it, you'll be stuck as a data analyst. Or, you can go into management. You could totally go into management. When you're a technical person, right, there's kind of two ways, or I think almost anyone, there's kind of two ways you can go about it, your career. You start off as a junior, then you can become a senior, and then from a senior, you can either start going into the staff direction, or you can go into the management direction. So with software engineers, right, at Google or Facebook or something, they'd call it a software engineer E5 or level 5. And then level 6 and beyond, I believe, are usually you can become a staff engineer where you are much more specialized, in you're a specialized individual contributor, or you can go into management, the management direction. So Python is not necessary to enter the field of analytics, but I truly believe that unless you want to go into management, you will quickly run into a roadblock in your career if you don't know a programming language. It'll be hard for you to make a lot more money, I'd say. Maybe not get promoted, but make a lot more money. Because people who can program get paid a lot more if they can use those programming skills to do useful things. Where's the pink drink? Don't have it today. I have a banana, and then I'm going to have some coffee. So let me eat some of my banana. Ishan, great to see him. Bharat Sharma. Working as a data analyst, I want to learn SQL on advanced level, so can you please suggest good practice questions? Stored procedures, indexing, performance. Yeah, so HackerRank would have been my first suggestion, but it looks like you've already done that. That's honestly really difficult for me to suggest. I'll be 100% honest with you. Scratch might be a good source for you. They were a sponsor on the channel earlier, but do they use SQL? I forgot. I know they have Python questions. I don't know if they have SQL questions. But go ahead and check them out. See if they do. They're the only other one I know. The reason I don't really know much more is because I don't practice SQL. Just because I use it in like my daily work, and any job interviews I've seen are more concerned with my Python skills, quite honestly, than my SQL skills. But that's because I'm at the senior level. So I do apologize. I'll see if I can get some resources together for you guys, but HackerRank's usually what I suggest. Scratch might be your next best bet. Adler, are you going to be doing some more private sessions like you mentioned a while ago? So I do apologize. I know I did mention that. The problem is I have a lot of stuff coming up in my life, right? Like separate of YouTube right now. Like my life outside of YouTube is getting quite busy. And I already have a backlog of like stuff I need to do for YouTube. So I would like to. I'm thinking after the summer is over, so around August and stuff, I can start looking into stuff like that again. Because I have a lot of stuff coming up right now. The summer's going to be very busy for me, so. Scratch have SQL. In that case, I suggest Scratch. I use them. They're great. I use them for Python, but I would assume their SQL questions are great too. Isha Bahal. Hi, what are some data analyst skills that are in demand on freelance platforms like Upwork? I remember you talking about web scraping. Yes, web scraping is a really big one. So I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent over here, and then I'll come back to your question. So I recently quit Upwork. I was just getting, at the end of the day, this YouTube channel is too profitable, and I just didn't like working all day, personally. That's not saying don't go into Upwork. But what I've started to notice is that I think rates are going down for data analysts and data scientists. That doesn't mean don't do it. What that means is work as hard as you can to get a high rating. That way you can charge a high rate. So some general advice for you guys. Even if you see rates going down in a field or something, the people who are best at that field can always charge a premium. If you're the best at something, you can always charge a premium. Or you're like within the top 5% or something, right? So Isha, what I would recommend, yes, web scraping is one of them. 100% you need to learn Python. That is a skill that allows you to differentiate yourself as a data analyst or data scientist on Upwork. Yeah, so I would say web scraping, Python, building really basic web pages and web apps. Learn Streamlit and build a Streamlit app or two for your portfolio on Upwork. That way you can show people a visual demonstration of what you can build for them. And then learn some basic machine learning as well, I'd say, and machine learning operation. So ML ops, how do you deploy machine learning programs into production. And then machine learning systems design might be useful as well. That's when you can really start charging the big bucks. Like I'm talking like triple digit hourly rates is when you can actually start designing systems, basically. So that's what I would recommend. But I would recommend working as hard as you can to escape that bottom part of Upwork because the rates are going down precipitously. It's insane. Adlo, are you a self-taught data analyst? I am, entirely. I've never taken it. I took one Python class, and I've never used it. But outside of that, I've never taken a formal class for anything I know. Omar, did you quit Nordstrom? No, I have not. Sorry if I made it sound like that, but no, I did not. Suraj Das, is there any company that offers internship positions which are paid? Any decent company will. I would honestly say a company is trash if they're asking for unpaid internships, quite honestly, because if they're asking for unpaid internships, like, of college students, high schoolers, I don't know, maybe, they're still kids, so, but yeah, a company is trash if they're asking for free labor from college students and above. So every reputable company will offer a paid internship. Like, no company should be asking for free labor like that, because a good internship, so Nordstrom, we do really good internships. What we do is we actually set up a project ahead of time for you to come do, and we basically give you that project and we say, okay, go do this. And then you have a couple of mentors who you can call at any time, and they have to answer any questions about where to get data, where to get started. And, the good thing about this is it also means we get good interns. So we have interns who are quite smart. And at the end of their internship, they're obviously getting paid. At the end of their internship, they will present their findings to the rest of the team. And if they're good enough, we'll usually implement them if we can, quite honestly. But yeah, any company that doesn't pay their interns is a trash company, and I wouldn't, no. Let's see. Paula, welcome. Notorious Swaggy. Oh, I think I've seen you before. Going to be starting a data analyst job here soon. I got it by working for a company for a year and transferring into the data department. Nice. That's a valid strategy, quite honestly. Mhm. Yeah, Omar. I was saying I quit Upwork. Yeah. Um, yeah, Upwork is awesome. YouTube's working out really well for me. We'll put it that way. Let's see. Namitha Kamath, R or Python for data analytics? Python. I always suggest Python. And for two simple reasons. These are the two reasons I think Python should definitely be learned over R. Is one, if you're going into a company that's not like humongous, right? If you're going to a company that's not humongous, the engineers will probably more likely know Python or some Python-like language than they are to know R. So they are like you have a lot more people who can help you out from the engineering department with simple like syntax and like production issues that you may have deploying stuff to whatever system you want to deploy it to. The second reason, and the reason that I personally learned Python instead of R, because me and a friend were debating which one we should learn, right? And he learned R, and I learned Python, and this was the big reason that I chose Python over R. If I ever got bored with data science or data analytics, software engineering would be open to me with Python. If you look at any major tech company, when they do their software engineering interviews, you can't use R as a language in those interviews. You can only use Python and like C, C++, like other regular programming languages. So I always suggest Python because you'll get more support from non-data science people, and you have more flexibility in your career. And the people, a lot of you guys are really, if you're asking me that question, right, you're probably early in your analytics journey. And as such, you may not end up liking analytics in the future, and you should always keep your options open in that case. So I know people will say it's the same thing. I heavily disagree. I think Python is what you should be learning. Now, the exception would be if a company you're applying to or a company you're at, if they use R for everything, then go ahead, use R at that point. I would also say after you learn Python, go ahead and learn some R. R is very useful as well in the data science space. It's just that Python gives you a lot more flexibility. Chinmoy Dutta. I'm doing well. I'm a little bit stressed right now because I have, like I was mentioning earlier, I have like a bunch of different, we'll call it different balls in the air right now. But, you know, we'll get through it. We'll get through it. It's all temporary. Lorid's Cleveland House. Hey Shashank, I desperately need an introduction on dbeaver. Can you recommend any resources on that topic? Check my video on my data analyst setup. It should be one of my first videos. I use dbeaver personally. Outside of that, I don't know any resources. I kind of just figured it out on my own. But check out that video. See if there's anything in there. Dendy Handian. Tableau or Matplotlib Seaborn? Tableau. Oh, 100% Tableau. You should learn Matplotlib and Seaborn because, like, again, interviews will ask you for it, but Tableau for sure. Like, no, graphing on Python is a huge pain compared to just doing it on Tableau. Hiroki Kaneko. I currently am working on my dataset and I have played around with it enough, and I'm now stuck on what kind of questions to ask and create visualization. What is the dataset about? Ishan, is data mining good? Like, should I learn it if I want to be an ML or DL engineer? Yes, you should. I would recommend learning it. Um, yeah, the thing is, with an ML engineer, that role can get really technical. So an ML engineer is a proper software engineer, in my opinion, because your job is to design and productionalize software. So data mining would be a useful skill to know. All right. Chinmay Yadav, go ahead and check out my data analyst roadmap video. I lay out the steps of what you need to learn in order to become a successful data analyst or data scientist. Saura, great to see you. How to develop soft skills for data analytics? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I would recommend trying to present what you do at work. I mean, obviously, with people you trust or like work that's not like super confidential. Present it to like your parents or your significant other as a way to practice your presentation skills. That's one way I would recommend it, because presumably they're not experts, and so that is how I would recommend building up some of your soft skills. Otherwise, listening is listening and speaking. It depends on who you are, right? Someone like me, I need to be taught to listen a lot more than I do need to be taught how to talk. But I know a lot of people in the analytics space, they're introverts, and knowing how to speak up and speak clearly is really important. That's another thing I've noticed. I've noticed that a lot of people don't speak clearly, like the way they sound, right? They like speak very timidly, which benefits no one. You don't benefit yourself. No one thinks higher of you for speaking timidly. So I would say like speak very clearly and very directly to people. That's another way to practice. So keep that in mind. Listen well, speak directly, avoid being timid, don't interrupt, and present your analytics to people who are not experts in the field, who you trust, who can give you some feedback. All right, what do we have? How good does it? Okay, so Adlo, how good does a data analyst need to be at the entry level? Hard to know when I should start applying. I would say so. Watch my data analytics roadmap video. I think everyone should watch that. That video has basically that video answers like 80% of the questions I get asked in these live streams. In that video, what I say is you should pick up a skill like Tableau or something, and then while you're doing that, start applying, because the application process can take 6 months. It'll take a while for companies to reach back to you, which is why you want to start early. That way you're not just stuck doing nothing. Zachary Moss, from your experience, what distinguishes successful from unsuccessful interns? One is technical skills. I Depending on the level of the internship, like we do, in exchange for paying the interns, right? We do expect some level of technical competency. I would say the interns that are consistently and frequently asking questions tend to be more successful than the ones that kind of stay in their room and in their office and don't ask any questions. Because as an intern, you almost by definition don't have much work experience, even if you have technical skills. So almost by definition, you don't really know what how to see a project through to completion by yourself. That's kind of why you're an intern. And because of that, I think that interns that consistently and frequently ask questions are the ones that end up being more successful on average. Omar, I'm trying to transition from a BA to a DA role. Being a BA is not that data focused. That's true. And again, there's a limited amount you can get paid as a BA. You'll notice I talk a lot about what you can reasonably expect as a salary. It depends on who you are, right? Depends on who you are. Depends on what country you're in. What do they pay a lot for? highly depends on, like, at the end of the day, it's all supply and demand, right? Like, why do software engineers get paid so much money? Well, it's because they are in the U.S. They're in low demand, or sorry, they're in high demand because we have a lot of entrepreneurs and not a lot of software engineers to execute on their vision. And it's a skilled job. You can't just become a software engineer because you decided to one day. Like, it takes, like, a lot of work. And because the supply is so low. Now, if all three of these factors don't, like, happen in your country, maybe there's a ton of people who are software engineers, or there aren't a lot of companies that need that talent, then they may not pay as well there. So keep that in mind. But when you're talking about BA to DA, I would recommend that as a move because DAs are more technical than BAs and will typically get paid more. I like to think about, like, what are any position that I'm in right now, right? What are where could I be from this position in 5 years if I don't make any major changes? And if I don't like the decision, then I try and make a major change. So at my current company, I'm gunning to become a data scientist because a data analyst without going into management has there's limited salary upside, quite honestly. Like, I'm not going to reach a $200,000 base salary as a data analyst for the most. I'll put it that way, and that's why I want to become a data scientist. So that's a question I would recommend everyone ask yourself as well. And because I know it's difficult to pick up these technical skills, but this is part of what inspires me. This is like moving up the level of technical expertise allows me to do more cool stuff. And if you don't like the job over here, you can always come back down here. But going from here to here is the harder part. Let's see. Suraj Das, is Streamlit user friendly, or do I need to watch a video on it? Watch a video on it, but it's very user friendly. It's very, very Pythonic. Banson Sai, how are you enjoying Seattle? I'm waiting for the summer to come. I think for me, so I've lived in the American South my entire life, Texas and Atlanta for the most part, and it is a change seeing how expensive everything is. But I think when the summer comes, I'll be a lot happier. We'll put it that way. Pavartosh, what are your thoughts on NYU data science course or any other data science course as an MS from a good U.S. university? So I haven't looked at every course myself personally, but what I would recommend is, let's see. What I would recommend is looking at where the alumni from that program go on to work. In my opinion, that is what determines the efficacy of a program if you're not going into research, right? If you're going into research, that's completely different. But the efficacy of a program, in my opinion, is determined by how where the graduates of that program end up going, because what happens is a lot of programs will have like connections with certain companies and be able to send their graduates to those companies. So keep that in mind. I can't rank NYU specifically only because I don't really know, but that's what I would determine. And then compare that with the cost of the program, especially because, especially because coming from India, right? Like the currency conversion doesn't work in your favor. If you're assuming you're paying in rupees, so really keep in mind what the cost of the program is, and don't just pay more because you think paying more will get you into a better program. That doesn't always happen. And I can say, for a fact that paying more is not always the solution. Sometimes it is, but it's not always the solution. Really do take into account the total value of the program that you're getting. All right, I can answer about one more question, then I got to head out. Ashley, okay, interesting question, Ashley. So Alteryx is a great tool. They have a lot of stuff. The thing is, I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you know SQL, then Alteryx is basically SQL. They hate it when you call it that. It's basically Python with the GUI. They hate it when you say that, but that's kind of what it is. I used to use it at my first company. It is a great tool. Amazing way to learn. I would say you're considering transitioning. Okay. Pick up SQL for sure. See what other requirements they need. I don't know what Big Four tax consulting requires for their data analyst. They may require Python or something else. But yeah, I would recommend following my data analyst roadmap. That's another video that'll be very helpful for you. So hopefully that's useful. All right, guys. So I do apologize. I do have to cut today's live stream short, but I will be back again next Thursday. And next Thursday we have a bit of a surprise for the live stream. So looking forward to seeing you guys next Thursday.